Alright, guys, I'm here to answer your questions, but I'm going to let you know right away that I can't give long, elaborate answers because I am pressed for time. So I'm going to have to get straight to the point. The first question comes from Jaquan Moore. At least it looks like that's the way he has it because they don't have the regular YouTube names on there anymore. Now they just got the YouTube handles on there. So it looks like it says Jaquan Moore. His question says, how do you feel about Scream 7 and Halloween Kills? And about the John Cena heel turn? Um, about Scream 7, I'll watch it, but I'm not crazy about it. I'm not going to go nuts over it because I feel like the franchise sort of died after Wes Craven died anyway. Scream 5 was okay, 6 was okay, but I didn't like the way they just dismissed Nev Campbell like that. So I'm not really that excited about Scream 7, but I'm gonna watch it just because I've watched the other ones, and that way I can say that I saw it. Regarding Halloween Kills, I liked it okay. Those that know me know I'm a big fan of Andy Matichak, and she was the only reason I gave the movie a second thought. Period. Um, so there's that. There are some things I liked about it, like I liked the flashback scene, and I liked the scene with the hospital when everybody was going crazy looking for Michael, but that's all I liked about it. As far as the John Cena heel turn, it sucks. It's hot garbage. They only did it to get Cody Rhodes over, period. Thank you for your question, Jaquan Moore. Next question comes from Gorgira Fan. He says, just out of curiosity, did you see my pitch for the Halloween reboot series? If so, what do you think? I didn't really read it. It was too long. I'm just going to be straight up and down with you. Didn't read it. Um, then he says, do you think the new Leprechaun movie should be theatrical? Only if Warwick Davis is in it and only if it's going to be done correctly. Then he says, can you make a video on the unmade Candyman vs. Leprechaun movie? I don't know, maybe. If I'm gonna make videos these days, it has to be something I'm really interested in. I'm not going to waste my time on meaningless bullshit. That's just the way it goes. And then he said, which Michael do you think is the strongest? I think six, but they're all the same person. I hate to see when people say which Michael. It's the same Michael. It's just him at different points in his life. So, but I'm going to say six for the sake of argument. Then he says, are you aware of one of the original Halloween 4 scripts where Michael explodes at the end? Never heard of that. Never heard of it. And then he said, if you have Spotify, would you like to hear my episode about Halloween H2K Evil Never Dies? Spotify is not working for me right now, but yeah, it sounds interesting. And by the way, Gorgira fan, you need to get social media like Twitter or Facebook or something like that. We can't just talk on YouTube. For all of you that don't have Facebook or Twitter, consider getting it. It makes communicating with me a whole lot easier. So, anyway, Then he goes on to say, are you aware of one of the ideas of Freddy versus Jason 2 that includes Michael? Nope, never heard of that. And then he said Michael versus Leatherface. I don't know what you mean by that. Do you mean who do I think would win? Well, Leatherface could be pretty dangerous with that chainsaw. So if Michael can get the chainsaw away from him, Michael would have a decent shot. Then he says, do you plan on seeing Scream 7? I just answered that. The answer is yes, obviously. Then he says, do you think they should make a new Halloween video game? As far as I know, I think they are making one. And John Carpenter is involved. The next question comes from, I don't know how to pronounce his name because like I said, they don't have the YouTube names there anymore. Now they just got the handles, which I think is stupid. But I think it's NICP2344, whatever. He says, did you ever watch WCW? And first of all, let me answer that. Yeah, I watched it a long time ago. Then he said, what would it take for you to stop watching wrestling? That is a really good question. I don't know. I don't think I could ever really completely stop watching it. So I don't know. But then he says he wanted to ask me a two-part question. What is the immediate after? He said, was the immediate aftermath of the Benoit tragedy one of the worst times to ever? Was it one of the worst times when it came to being a wrestling fan? And do you think anyone stopped watching and never came back because of it? I'm sure there are, and do I think it was one of the worst things about being a wrestling fan? Some people would feel that way. With me, it didn't stop me from watching it. That's something that Benoit chose to do, and that's on him. The next question comes from Anti-Hero Andy. I think that's how you pronounce it. Thank you for your question, sir. Whatever your name was, I'm sorry, I forgot it. But he says, what is your first vivid memory of watching wrestling in 1999? And what are your general thoughts on Vince Russo? And do you see wrestling surviving in the next 10 years? Something that I can actually remember in watching, when it comes to watching wrestling in 1999? I remember watching an episode of Raw with my dad and my uncle in April of 99. It had The Rock, Undertaker, and I think Stone Cold. And I saw Rock for the first time. I think it was April. I think it was either when he turned face or when he was about to turn face. Because he turned face in the spring of 1999. So, yeah, that's my first actual official memory of The Rock. That would be April of 1999. And then he says, what are your general thoughts on Vince Russo? I like his honesty when it comes to WWE, but I don't think he should be charging people to grant them interviews, and I don't think he should charge people to answer their comments on YouTube. But that's my opinion on that. If that's what he wants to do, it's whatever. And then, thank you for your question, Anti-Hero Andy. The next question comes from Ashley Burchett, AJ Lee fan. She says, oh, by the way, she's a long-time viewer. I think it's a she anyway. She's a long-time viewer of this channel, so I want to say thank you to her. She always watches my stuff. Like when I talked about like Seventh Heaven and other TV shows, she would always comment on it. So thank you to her, and I appreciate that. Her first question says, do you agree with wrestling fans when they say The Rock is egotistical? To some degree, yes. Then she says, do you think Halloween fans overrated the new trilogy? Yes, it's not really that good. There are parts of it. I will say that again. There are parts of it that I like. That is it. As I stated in the beginning of the video, I'm a fan of Andy Matichak that plays Allison. But that's it. And I like the part in Halloween Kills where they're at the hospital and the whole hospital is in an uproar. I like that part, and I like the flashback part. That is it. That is all I like with the trilogy. That's it. If it weren't for Andy Matichak and if it weren't for that thing in the hospital, I wouldn't like it at all. I think Judy Greer did a great job in Kills. So props to Judy Greer, Andy Matichak, and props to the people that did the Halloween flashback scene. That's the only thing that I like about the trilogy. That's it. And then she said, what is the most overlooked Halloween movie in your opinion? Resurrection. Then she says, do you have a favorite teen drama show? I like Seventh Heaven, Roswell, Buffy and Angel, shows like that. So thank you for your question, Ashley Burchett, AJ Lee fan. Thank you so much, and thank you for watching my channel. Next question comes from Fire Flames. He says, favorite action franchise? Mortal Kombat. And I'm talking about the original series. Not this new bullshit that they have now. That shit is trash. And I'm only watching the next Mortal Kombat movie to say that I saw it. That is it. And then his next question says, favorite films in the Alien and Predator franchises? Don't have any. Then this one guy says, little buddy, how do you feel about Halloween 4? Okay, don't know why you're calling me little buddy, but I like Halloween 4. It's a good movie. And then Fire Flame says, favorite comedian? I really don't have one as of right now. There was one that I liked, but he passed away. His name was Paul Mooney. He talked a lot about race and social issues, but a lot of people can't handle the truth, so they probably wouldn't like him. Rest in peace to Paul Mooney. Next question comes from, thank you for your questions, Fire Flames. Next question comes from Everyday Horror. Shout out to you, sir. I'm a huge admirer of yours. I'm a huge fan. His question says, how do you honestly feel about modern day horror and paranormal movies, from the actors to the scripts? Well, sir, I think modern horror sucks. Paranormal movies, I don't take them seriously. Well, some of them. Like, I like that movie Premonition with Julian McMahon and Sandra Bullock and Nia Long. I like that movie. That was pretty good. That's from 2007. Um, as you heard me say a million times already, Everyday Horror, I'm a big fan of Andy Matichak, so I'm looking forward to her new movie, Serena. But actors and scripts, the scripts are trash, sir. They're trash. And as far as the actors go, I think a lot of times, sir, especially the females, so you would call them actresses, or like Robert Newman once said on the channel, or do they like to be called female actors? Anyway, whether you call them actresses or female actors, I think they're really stuck up. And they think they're too cute to get down and dirty, and that's why their acting sucks. Because they don't want to let themselves go. They act like a bunch of divas. You know, in order to act, you have to really let yourself go. You've got to really get into the part. And I think that's something that modern actresses or quote unquote female actors don't like to do. So the actresses, they're horrible. The actors, they're okay. You know, they're fine. But thank you for your question, sir. Appreciate you, and I love your channel. Resident of Collinwood says, if Halloween 9 were to happen, who would you want to see as the protagonist? I guess John Tate, since he's the only one that's really alive. Tommy Doyle, you know, I don't see how you could bring him back unless he were recast. And you got somebody else to play him other than Paul Rudd. So, yeah. Thank you for your question, sir. On to the next question. Lord Bite Me Man, I think that's how you say it. He says, imagine in 100 or so years in the future, do you think slasher villains like Michael Myers and Freddy Krueger will have the same social currency that figures like Dracula and Frankenstein monsters had in the 20th century? Sir, I don't know. That is a great question. I would like to think so. I hope so, sir. I really do, sir. That is a wonderful question. I hope they have the same relevancy, sir. I hope that Michael Myers and Freddy Krueger are on the lips of horror fans everywhere, sir. I think that is a beautiful question. And I won't be here to see if that happens. But, sir, I hope it happens. Thank you so much for your question. I really appreciate it. Let's see if you got any more. Oh, he has one more. He says, as the time passed and new generations are starting to emerge, has the Halloween franchise become too dated to continue, or are its best days ahead of it? Another great question, sir. It all depends on the writing. It's like Tom Atkins said, it's all in the writing. The writing dictates everything. It all depends on how they handle it. It's up to Trancas and the writers. Thank you for your question. Caleb Lynch says, what are your thoughts on Sabu passing away? I never really knew much about Sabu. I heard about him. I thought he was badass. He was like ECW's version of Mankind. So I thought he was badass. It saddens me that he passed away. I get sad when anybody passes away, but I loved his theme song. So, yeah, thank you for your question. Alex Reader says, "Hey Myers fan, what are your thoughts on Rowan Campbell playing Billy Chapman in the upcoming Silent Night, Deadly Night remake?" For those that don't know, Rowan Campbell played Corey Cunningham in Halloween Ends. Um, and I think he did a good job in that, by the way. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play another sinister character. I can't wait. Final questions coming up here. Um, can't really read that person's name, but they say, "What is your opinion on the upcoming entries in the Poonaverse, including Bambi the Reckoning and Pinocchio Unstrung?" Well, here are my thoughts about the Poonaverse. And that's, for those that don't know, the Poonaverse is the Winnie the Pooh universe. Um, the first Winnie the Pooh movie was decent, but then once they gave the exposition as to why he turned bad, and we found out that Winnie the Pooh was just a person that had animal DNA mixed with him, that just made it stupid. I hated that. I thought it was a stupid exposition, but that's just my opinion on that. As far as Bambi goes, it's just going to be an evil Bambi. I mean, what am I supposed to say about that? They basically just they take something that's good or whatever the case, and then they just make it evil. So I mean, what is Bambi gonna do? Go around eating people? Is Bambi gonna be mutated where he's like half man, half deer? And we already saw Pinocchio evil before. I did a review about that movie, Pinocchio's Revenge. And that's already on the YouTube channel. You can search that now and just look up Pinocchio's Revenge and you'll hear me talk about that. And then the final question says, "Little buddy, why do people believe their own lies?" I don't know. Some of them are narcissists. Some of them just believe their own lies just because. I honestly don't know. But anyway, I want to thank you guys for submitting your questions. I'm sorry I couldn't elaborate. Like I said, I'm pressed for time. So thank you for watching. I'm the Michael Myers Fanatic. I approve this message. I might have a Halloween video coming up very soon. So stay tuned for that. Thank you very much.